Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to the Football Uncensored podcast with myself, Rob Kirton, and the man himself, John Sitton. We've had a few weeks off since we had a bit of a purge on the Euros. We tried to cram in quite a lot there, and did. Had a little bit of a break since then. Unfortunately, we both do work full time and have issues to deal with outside of work as well. So getting us together can be tricky, but here we are, first one of the new season. So what I would say before we do start is we are going to try and be as regular as possible throughout the season, as much as time allows, possibly talk about other divisions outside the Premier League as well, depending on topics of the week. But I would encourage our small loyal band of watchers and listeners, please continue to share and like and tell your friends and show your friends and your family, etc. We are endeavouring to get a bit of a wider audience to try and justify our time, as it were. But thank you to those who do, and please continue to help us out and share, etc., etc. John, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, Rob. Yeah, not bad. Off and running the Football League, when they so some of them are 3 games in, and then obviously the Premier League started. It's Friday night. Majority of games yesterday, 2 more today. I think Tottenham, Leicester tomorrow. Yeah, so first weekend of the Premier League season off and running. Yeah, but all good. Yeah, quite enjoyed match of the day last night, and I'll be watching match of the day too tonight. Chelsea City and I think Brentford Palace.
That's right. Yeah, just for context, we are recording this Sunday evening. So Sunday evening. So, as John says, Chelsea and City today, and Brentford and Palace today. But John, you said there was a couple of things on match of the day, and also the Football League highlights just before we come on air. One particular trait that you wanted to speak about. It's something you have spoke about before, but safe to say it hasn't changed from last season and the season before that, etc., as this new season has kicked off. And it was, unsurprisingly, people who know John, it was something to do with the defensive side of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a bit of what they call in a trade, a bit of smash and grab yesterday. Got in, did a few hours, blitzed it, never really stopped, and then got home because I wanted to get home to watch the English Football League highlights as well. And then you've got a couple of me clubs. I was listening to it on BBC Radio London, and then one in particular, Millwall. I was having a bit of banter with one of the chaps in the week, and he said about them holding trials and get yourself over there. I said, well, if I did, I'd probably get in the side looking at the defending last year. And then it was compounded by what I saw on the highlights last night. And the only conclusion I could draw from the co-commentator on BBC Radio London is he must have been related to Neil Harris. There's never been a better time, in my opinion, to be a player, to be a coach, or to be a manager, because all they keep doing is making excuses for him. And they're going on about Neil Harris looking to get more players in. I don't know what his squad is, 2022, 23, and maybe he's looking to rotate a couple. I remember being expected to win the Champions League with 15 outfield players, 2 goalkeepers, actually 3. We let one go, Paul Newell. The fact that his nickname was Tubbsy, I think, was self-explanatory in terms of the reasons why. And then out of the 2 left, one of them was the co-manager. But we never really had any excuses other than what I named in my book, which is sitting there behind me, and still doing quite well from different outlets. The main one probably at the moment, because my website's down, is the Amazon.co.uk. And I said about having to juggle 6 jobs. But now they've got staff as big as a UN delegation, and they've got a squad 22, 23 players, and then they're still making excuses for them. I think where Millwall concerned, 2-0 down, pulled it back to 2-2, went 3-2 in front. That's when you've got to stop getting excited and get rid of the momentary ecstasy of taking the lead and get your professional nut screwed on. Because from what I could see, nothing's changed. You could drive a Sherman tank between both fullbacks and that centre back that side, and then another one up the middle between the 2 centre backs, because the slightest bit of movement, threw them off kilter. It threw them. It deceived them. The slightest bit of taking the ball offline and clipping a dink or a little pass, and you know, they were snookered. They didn't know how to handle it. So rather than get probably wrongly now, the way when I look back, but rather than insist on keep turning players over, why not coach the ones you got and drill them relentlessly so that any problem that's thrown at them they can deal with? And then I look at the thing in the Premier League, fast forward to match of the day, and then you had a lot of self-induced problems with the Arsenal. Well, I predicted 3-0, it was 2-0. But they had a couple of self-inflicted problems, self-induced problems where they've got their assistant on this playing it out from the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper being an extra outfield player. And if that's coached, which it obviously is, that's fair enough. But then they've also got to give players what I used to call liberty of thought, whereby they're the one with the ball at their feet or the ball in their hands in the goalkeeper's case or feet. And the final decision should be left with them. And I thought it was highlighted perfectly with the, like I said, end up having to make saves, last ditch tackles, last ditch blocks, last ditch saves. And then the worst one was the Southampton Newcastle that got Newcastle out of jail, actually. Yeah, and you being a Southampton supporter. But the guy, I don't know what he's trying to do. Other than the fact that, like, you must do this, you must, you know, well, no, if it's not on, don't do it. I'm not saying just boot it. There might come a time when you do just have to clear your lines, the old expression, and it might end up in the channel. It might end up using the airspace. It might end up into touch. But it's got to be better than ending up in the back of your net. And he had 2 or 3 options actually, but he's tried to thread a ball between 2 Newcastle players, and he's miscued it, and it's got intercepted and then squared and then bumped in the back of the net. Yeah, honestly and truly, I don't understand it, and it's a case of as you were, where people are trying to they try to copy Arsene Wenger. They tried to copy when he first arrived. Now everyone's tried to copy Pep Guardiola. Now he's arrived. And I'm sorry to have to say it. I mean, they either haven't got the players or they've got the players and it's not being coached correctly, whereby, you know, it's about encouraging the players to make the right decisions. I think if it's on, if it comes in and the goalkeeper can get it across his body and ping it out the other side, or he can punch it into someone who's, you know, threatening the back, come off short or just come off short. And even then he's got an option. If the guy comes tight, because you see that one where they split and then one comes short to receive it on the half turn. If someone comes tight, we'll just miss him out and go straight into the front man or the furthest midfield player. You understand what I mean? To get further up the field. I'm not saying don't do it if it's not on. And normally when it is on, like I've said before on these podcasts, is normally when play's congested in one half of the field where they've gone, and if you draw a line right through the penalty spot, say the goalkeeper's come and claimed it across, or just they've wriggled down the side, down the channel and cut it back, and it's ended up a shot and he's caught it, play would have been shifted to one side. That's when you can hit someone on the break, go out the other side and bump and go down the other. I ain't saying don't do it. That's the time to do it. But I just think some of the decision making leaves a lot to be desired. So it's a case of as you were.
Like you say, John, your phrase was freedom of thought. So again, if it's not on, do something else. Don't just do the try and roll it out or try and pass it out to the nearest defender as a default. Obviously, that's what you coach, so try and do it like you say, but don't do it no matter what. I suppose is the point you're making, isn't it? There are always options.
Yeah. I mean that sort of liberty of thought comes in whereby you just think, you know what, I don't like the look of this, and you just take charge of the situation and deal with it accordingly. And I think he would have been better off just probably getting it out of his feet, and maybe because you look at how they'd squeezed on, because what they're doing. Listen, this is what a lot of people, most teams actually are doing. Possibly with, I'm looking at it, maybe the exception of a couple. I would think Liverpool being one of them, whereby if they can sort of ping in and put you under pressure, they will. But if not, Liverpool will slightly concede the ball. to bring the opposition onto them, which I've explained before, which leaves grass in behind. It leaves space in behind. And then when they do pinch it back, they've got the players to hurt you on the break. Right. And so you've got to have players with pace to do that. Right. And that's one of their styles, patterns of play, if you like. They'll induce pressure and they'll call it on, and then they'll nick it, and then they're pinging at you on the break. And like you saw Liverpool, I think, goodness me, it was at Ipswich. They went Ipswich, yeah. Ipswich went very brave, very, very bold, borderline naive. They went 4-2-4, and they pushed their players right onto Liverpool's to stop Liverpool getting out. Right. Or what they'll do, someone, you know, that level of football club, that level, that standard of player, they'll wait, they'll be patient, and they didn't mind. You see it from Van Dijk, you see it from Alexander-Arnold, you see it from the other centre back. They didn't mind going long when that happened. They didn't mind going long. And all right, okay, Ipswich pinched it a couple of times, but what they did, they made the right decision, and they pushed Ipswich back. And then second half, then maybe they run out of legs a little bit. But then when they pinched it back off of Ipswich, they went bump, got out the other side, and I actually think it led to one of the goals. You know, so what teams are doing, so the point I was going to make, what teams are doing, they will concede the ball, maybe invite the goalkeeper to, get it out of his feet. I'm the extra outfield player. I'm the like John Cartwright's session 29 years ago. I'm the keeper, the deeper sweeper. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep saying it. I've seen it done. I saw it done at the indoor facility at Arsenal, London Coaches Association. Right. So it's not a new phenomenon. Right. But it had to be bedded in then, so that the next 2 generations of pros, or the next 3 generations of pros over the last 30 years, it becomes second nature. But everyone blanked it. When Cartwright did it, everyone blanked it. Right. But what they're doing now, very cleverly and rightly so, they're saying, right, okay, we'll concede 10 yards, 15 yards, and as soon as the ball leaves that goalkeeper's foot, they go flying in, put pressure on the ball, and then it's about how you space off behind that. So you invite the second part, or the second pass and the third pass, but you go bump, and you lock on and press the ball, and that's what they're doing. And teams are pinching it back, and it's leading to quite a lot of chances. Yeah, so it's as you were, I think, from a lot of what went on last year. I mean, they've defended the England manager now, all the way down to Football League managers now. A million excuses. I just think maybe, okay, ride that wave, sit on the crest of that wave, surf that crest of that wave of empathy and sympathy, because it's few and far between in previous years. But at the same time, I honestly believe it should be about improving players' education, coaching them appropriately, and keep rehearsing. Apart from teaching the game, rehearsing what you've taught, and so it's like a continuum. I've been watching documentaries on YouTube, not my own, others, about other managers. And after the summer I've had, yet again, I've found myself, you know what I mean? So they go, oh, yeah, he sounds angry and bitter. I go, yeah, well, absolutely. Now what? I'm thinking, how in God's name have I been out of the game for over 2 decades when I look at all this carry on? I saw a documentary on, 3 documentaries on the same manager, actually. And he couldn't complete a sentence without an F for B, another B, and even the odd C. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't believe it. But what's happened has happened, and that's it now. Fallen by the wayside. But you still look at the game and you just think to yourself, the fundamentals, to me, appear to be the same. And I just think, rather than you should place demands, which is something I failed to do. You should place demands on your board and on your chairman. But rather than keep placing demands on the board and on the chairman to find the money to rotate players via the transfer market, try doing some work with the ones you got.
I like you say. I think it's fairly safe to say, and this is a groundbreaking statement, that particular tactic is here to stay, no matter what, it seems. Regards to Liverpool, and kind of trying to make a loose link between what you're saying about coaching and drilling the players you have rather than the constant turnover. Liverpool, I believe, yet to make a signing in the transfer window,
The manager.
apart from any manager, obviously, but no
Yeah.
new players. So they
Yeah.
are one. I think they are possibly the only club that haven't made a summer signing. So maybe, who knows? Maybe that is what they are going to try and do. So they've got the new manager, and he's going to try and work with what he's got, which, let's face it, isn't a bad bunch of players after all, anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's
but
just a different voice now.
yeah,
Klopp would have briefed him. He would have rung Klopp to get the SP on the club, the players. What should I look out for? Anything you can tell me? Anything? Because it was Klopp's decision to go. No doubt he'd have been offered. They'd have been happy to keep him on. I thought he let the cat out of the bag too soon. It affected their season quite profoundly in the end. For me, they should have been the nearest challengers to City. It turned out to be Arsenal, and it went to the last game of the season. The reason it didn't go to the last game of the season for Liverpool and for Klopp is because he told everyone in January. That's my true opinion, and that won't change because don't matter what happens. When I talk about percentages, I would argue that when a manager, and I've been in the situation at a much lower level, when a manager's contractual situation is precarious, shall we say, you lose quite a vast percentage from the players in terms of how they train, in terms of how they approach the game, in terms of how they play on a Saturday, Tuesday. And I think that profoundly affected Liverpool's season. Now, where the new manager's concerned, I heard 2 interviews yesterday, and in both interviews, one was match of the day, and one was, funny enough, was on. I don't. It might have been TalkSport. I was switching backwards and forwards to channels, and I'll have to get hold of my pal Durham, Adrian Durham, and find out if there's one on another shortwave rather than a medium wave, because I kept getting interference. So I was going over to BBC Radio London, but I was listening to this Arnie Slot talk, and a lot of what he spoke about for the majority of the interview is what I said in my book, which is now 8 years old, and I said it 29 years ago, which fundamentally is about winning your 1v1s. He called them duels. It's about winning your duels. Your immediate duel, your immediate 1v1. Well, that's always been the case. And the team that wins the majority of the duels gets the upper hand and ultimately prevails, which is what they did yesterday. And I thought it's get a bit of a baptism of fire really for Ipswich, because I think that I'm not sure. I think their next game might be, or the third game is Man City. So
next weekend they're away at City.
oh, they all right, okay, yeah. So all the best.
Yeah, tough start.
Yeah, very tough start. Very tough start. Yeah, but yeah, you look at it. They've got this idealistic approach, but the bottom line is, what'll happen? I should imagine what'll happen, bar a miracle, is you'll get 1 or 2 suffering, like I did from a severe case of ideology, and then the pragmatists will prevail and avoid relegation.
So you're saying there's not a lot of hope for my club then, John, reading between the lines there.
Well, they might have the same. Yeah. I mean, they might well have the same problem. They might well have the same problem. I thought they really. And what I mean by that is pressure to bear on the midfield and the back four. And I played in teams like that. I know what I'm talking about. If you've got no goals in the side, or very few goals in the side, and you haven't got proven goal scorers in the side, it's got to be shared around the team. And then you look at that and you say, well, that ain't great either. So where they're coming from? So it's a recipe for disaster. But although I think Southampton yesterday started the game the better of the two, I thought at least for the first half they dominated the game. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't read too much into Everton's result because he's a pragmatist, and if he's given the time, it's whether they their last season at Goodison, whether they're basically just happy with survival, like last year after the points deduction. But on it goes, this fiasco and merry-go-round we know as football. I thought that was the best result of the day out of all the new managers.
Brighton.
The Brighton one was the best one. Yeah, and ironically, he's a very young man. He's a very young man like I was. So you've got everything going for you. You know, you've got your youth, your vitality, your energy, your enthusiasm, your knowledge of the game, your thirst for knowledge for the game, and you tend to leave no stone unturned. So you know, that was probably in terms of opening day results for me, that was the best result of the day, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I must admit, I didn't have that down as an away win, but
I
then
agree. Yeah,
that's
I agree.
that's why I'm not retired
Yeah,
on my
you
online
can.
betting
Your
winnings.
gambling pursuits. Yeah, yeah,
That's why I still work,
yeah,
still got a job.
yeah.
But yeah, another new manager, as you say, and a great result. One or two other changes.
Careful what you wish for. I think the others.
Well, I mean, we're already under 10 minutes to go on this recording, so I think we should probably steer clear of CFC for the remaining 8 or 9 minutes, because I think that'll probably take up a whole episode,
Mm.
and what happened with Pochettino and etc. etc. But one or two other changes. West Ham got a new gaffer, which we did touch on before, and neither of us could pronounce his surname. But obviously they got off to a defeat. I think they lost to Villa yesterday, didn't they?
They did, yeah. That would be the toss of the coin for me between Brighton winning at Everton emphatically like that, and Villa at West Ham. Because I
Mm.
thought with a new manager, I thought they made quite a few decent signings.
Yeah,
You got one contradiction. You probably got the most uncultured double basic defender in the kid from Palace to United to West Ham.
one Bissaka, the right
Bissaka,
back.
right back. Probably better off as a centre back if he could have been converted as a youngster in terms of his assets.
Mm.
And they talk about the West Ham way. So you know the two don't, for me, they don't correlate. But they did need replenishing the back line. So it might ultimately be a decent thing, and it releases the guy playing now, the Eastern Bloc guy, whose name is remiss of me not to remember his name, but it might release him to go like he'd be pushed inside or further on if they want to play a back five. Yeah, so that one, but yeah, I mean he's probably for me a toss up between Villa and Brighton for result of the day, and I think Villa, although what might spinals it for them, I was going to say they might be my dark horses in terms of like carrying on from last year. I
Mm.
think they've made some really good cracking signings, good astute signings, and what might nose it for them is I think they're dabbling in Europe this year, so
Yeah,
that might upset their league form. So it's going to be a big ask, you know what I mean? Um, but the rest I see it as, I mean, we've wait 5 or 6 games we start call. I think you need to give it 5 or 6 games, then we start calling it maybe how it's taking shape and it's going to end up, and um, what he used to Howard Wilkinson said that October is the Ides of March for managers. So he's trying to
oh
quote Julius Caesar and be a bit thing about the stabbing in the back with regards to managers parting company. I suppose that's about right. By then you've had 10 to 15 games
yeah.
and it starts to take shape, and then you see who presses the panic button first.
Yes, that'll be an interesting one. That's always a good bet. Who's going to get the sack first? I've got my thoughts on that. I think it might well be the new Chelsea gaffer, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We're down. Unbelievably, we're already down to 5 minutes. So
All right.
what I would like then?
What I will say is I read today that he signed a 5-year deal. I'm catching up on a lot of old newspapers, so I'm laying in the bath before I've done a bit of gardening after my training session, and after the dinner I've had, you wouldn't think it, but I'm looking at it, and this Maresca's signed a 5-year deal. All they keep doing. I did a very quickly, Rob. I did a podcast. He invited me on his Alan Hudson. And
Yeah,
we briefly scratched the surface of people going to Chelsea for the wrong reasons. And it totally is. You know what I mean? It's just gone from one extreme to the other. Like, he left the club because of money. I was paid virtually no money and offered a 4-year pro deal. So there was a contradiction there where I said, like, how comes you think enough of me to offer me a 4-year deal, but the money's Mickey Mouse? And Addy was promised a sort of signing on fee, and then they reneged on it, which is why I said, all right, I'm off to Stoke. Now it's the totally other end of the spectrum. People they're attracting people to the club just purely and simply because of the financial rewards. And if you get the tin tack as a manager, he's got 5 years' money to come, which is absolutely ridiculous.
It's all that's always baffled me. The only job in the world, I'm sure someone can name another one, but to me, the only job in the world you can fail spectacularly at and get well rewarded for,
Yeah.
financially speaking, anyway. But yeah, that's always bonkers to me. But
And
yeah, well,
he's another one, by the way. He's got that credibility of having worked under Pep.
indeed, yeah, he
Yeah, so
is. I
that's how
mean,
he got the Leicester gig, and then from Leicester to Chelsea,
yeah. Well,
which is nonsense.
just quickly then to conclude, well, he's what we'll quickly say as well. If Maresca signed a 5-year deal, that's about 2 or 3 years shorter than most of the players Chelsea are signing it. They're on the 7s and 8s, but we will do Chelsea in full in another episode.
Yeah.
One other, we will just touch on one other manager briefly. The club got relegated from the Premier League, so they're in the EFL this year. And Burnley, and then you gather is Scott Parker, the man who left, Vincent Company, another Pep, a lieutenant as a player, not a coach.
Mm.
But he managed to get himself relegated with Burnley and headhunted by Bayern Munich.
Amazing. Yeah.
And has also been on a documentary recently saying a few choice words, shall we say?
Yeah, I saw two lots where the guy's good enough saying, "Look, sits have a look at this." So it's one of them. Where did I go wrong? Well, no. I mean, I weren't um, in the top flight for long enough. Didn't do enough networking. Never had enough friends, if any. Because what he did in the dressing room at Anderlecht, and then the worst one was on the training field at Burnley. He's walking with his clipboard, and he's full face with one player, gone right up it to him, and the players turned around. Credit to him, he's fronted it, but he still, as he walked away, still kept chuntering on, as Clark used to say. Stop chuntering on. He's still chuntering on loudly, and when you look at it, married to all the documentaries I've been watching, just getting home from a late shift or late at night, bit bored, trawling. Let's have a look at this. And it's from back in the day. You just think, Jesus Christ, some people must have actually trod in shit as a kid, which is meant to be lucky, or the bird dropping on their shoulder. You know what I mean? Because I'd love to know what is I got ironed out and ostracised and outcast, because it's no different. No different. If anything, it's probably worse, because he's behaving like a petulant baby.
Yeah.
When the player comes back at him, he still think, well, you've got to argue the point. And what I said was quite lucid. And there you go. He's off to Bayern Munich, one of the biggest, most historical clubs in European football. So a lucky boy. Lucky boy.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
Right, we are just approaching the last minute, so I'll say good night and thank you everyone for watching. Reiterate what I said at the start. Please continue to do so. Share, like, subscribe, do everything you can to get other people involved.
Cheers, Rob. Yeah. Can I just endorse that? Thanks for the loyal followers and the loyal watchers and listeners who stuck with us right through the Euros as well, and the aftermath of the Euros. We're up and running. It's the first one. Not a lot's happened other than the first weekend's football, but just to endorse what Rob said, and if you can share with your friends, and then hopefully we get the numbers and go from strength to strength. And once again, Rob, thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. We will see you all again soon. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers, John.
Cheers, Rob.
Everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye
Buy
now.
John's book. Buy John's book. It's a good read.
Bye. Yeah.
Absolutely. Bye.
Cheers, mate.